Hello, everybody, and welcome to the talk on how to be kinder. And I have Tosh Brittan. Have I said it right?
You have perfectly, thank you.
Perfect. And Tosh is a mindfulness coach, but also has the most amazing blog called The Divorce Goddess. And it's all about being kind. And so her whole raison d'etre is literally to be kind. Kind is the word of the day, every day for Tosh. So she's here to help us become more kind. And how can we be more kind? First of all, I'd like to ask you, well, actually it would be really good to know, before I ask my first question, what made you switch from to be kinder? What was your inspiration?
I think it was two parts, actually. I think when I was going through a divorce, I remember getting to that stage where, everybody is running for the hills. And I remember some friends saying, you've got to go after him and get this and get that. And I just felt this enormous rock in my stomach. And I was like, I felt really sick and I felt so scared and fearful. And I just thought, I don't want to feel like this for the next goodness knows how many months or years or whatever. And coupled with that sort of physical feeling of just it not feeling good. And also the fact I'm really stubborn. I think that's a big part to play in it. I just thought I'm going to do it differently. And since my whole world had exploded anyway, I just thought, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to challenge all the norms, anything that was thrown at me. And I was just going to do it differently and in a kinder way. It's tough doing that. But I also told my ex that actually I was going to do this. So they kind of knew exactly where I was coming from. And I was just like, do you know what? I'm not going to fight you. I said, I just want us to come out of this with grace, to be able to co-parent well, to have some dignity. And don't get me wrong, I'm no angel. And there are times that I found this really big hill near where I live, which literally was like that. And I used to march up it, having a right old chunter to myself on many a day, going, oh my God, I can't do this. And then every time I thought I would send an email or something that might go against what I had decided and committed and intended to do, that intention thing, I was like, no, come back, stay with this. This is an opportunity. So stubbornness and a bodily sensation that was literally making me feel really ill.
Yeah, so just knowing that that's not what you wanted to challenge a different way. So challenge the normal way of just fighting, really, war.
Yeah. And just thinking, totally.
Yeah, I can really, really relate to that. It's lovely when you do something so differently. And I remember, I don't know, I read in one of the many books that we have all read, the self-help type books, there was this woman who, or maybe I heard it from somewhere, there was a lady who was getting divorced, and it might have been you, in fact, and she just refused to have anyone say anything bad about her ex, because she was only going to focus on the good. And so much good came out of that, because the more you focus, it's where your energy goes, your attention flows. So if you're focusing on the kindness, people will hopefully come back with kindness. So let's just start.
And people don't have anywhere else to go. And it's kindness, there is nowhere to go.
It's so true, because when there's you need two hands to clap, you need two people to create an argument. When one is not arguing, the other is just like, oh, face
they might be waving.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So even before we can be kind to others, how can we be kind to ourselves? This is one of my biggest topics because I struggle with it.
Oh, it's that I have this sort of this analogy that I use a lot when I'm working with people. And, you know, you have your ex or somebody who's upset you in life or somebody that's creating, and maybe, you know, and then you have you, and it's a sort of an American term, a sort of backyard. So you have your backyard and that person's backyard. And every time you notice you're in your backyard, because you're in their backyard, sorry, thinking about them, you're out of your own backyard. So you're leaving your backyard open to not being nourished or cherished or, you know, or loving yourself. And people find it very hard to sort of, you know, to be with that loving yourself. So actually self-kindness to yourself, you know, it can just be kindness. It doesn't have to be love in any big way. And I feel that, you know, so often we talk to ourselves about, we use unkind words about ourselves. You know, I'm such a fool, I'm such an idiot. We berate ourselves as well. And I think it really is about creating that new neural pathway, isn't it? About, you know, every time you choose not to berate yourself and speak unkindly to yourself, you're actually, yeah, you're just sort of smoothing in that, maybe that big crevasse of, like, you know, negative self-talk you've been sort of slipping into every time something goes wrong. But I do believe that just practicing that self-kindness is, and that's something that I talk about with children as well. When I've been teaching children, it's normally towards the end of a course when I'm teaching them, and it's kind of one of the last things. I like, what do you like about yourselves? And they all go, oh, I don't like anything. And they all go, oh no, and it's so funny. And they go, okay, well, go on, here's your list. You know, I give them a little printout, and they go, what do I like about? And they're all sitting there, and I'm going, okay, I'm going to start off. And I go, right, I love your curly hair. I love your glasses. Look at your gorgeous smile, or look at your lovely, you know, wavy fingers or twiddly fingers. And then they suddenly, within about 5 minutes, they're just having so much fun with all the stuff they like about themselves. Like, I love the fact I love my pet, or I love the fact, or I love hugs, or, you know, I'm a hugger, and we just need to remind ourselves, because in life we're layered up with so much that we forget.
Whereas babies have that naturally. They love their fingers. They love every part of their body. They're just, you know, they're just there playing, but we lose it.
We do, because we're all in our heads. We just need to come back to, you know, something I do every day. Well, not every day, actually. I'm not going to say that. But I do regularly is when I wake up in the morning, as a sort of a gratitudinal practice, perhaps, is I kind of give my body a good rub everywhere and say, good morning, face, good morning, hair, good morning, crazy curly hair, good morning, arms, thank you, legs, for working for me today. Thank you to my lungs and, you know, my stomach for working. And I wake my toes up, give them a rub. And I just sort of reconnect with my body as well, just to sort of remind myself of this vehicle that
we're so lucky to have.
Yeah, totally.
And that's a really great one to teach children to do in the morning. Just, you know, it would be a great thing if we could learn that when we're young, to do that. Yeah. So then we can be kind to ourselves, look after our backyard, not throw rubbish in our own backyard or other people's backyards. But how do we now be kind to others? How do we practice kindness?
I think one of those, you you know, it's so easy and when we're on automatic pilot and when we're sort of going about our lives and we're just in our own thoughts to forget that everybody else is going through stuff. And just for example, you know, if a friend hasn't phoned you for a while or hasn't made contact, and we sort of go into ourselves with that, oh, you know, have I done something? What's the matter with them? Do they not love me or anything? And actually, as being that bigger person to go, I don't care whether they haven't called me. I'm just going to call them and tell them I love them or I miss them. And you know what? It just makes a difference. You know, it's like giving presents to people at Christmas. It's all holidays. It's always very lovely to be able to, you know, hand a gift to somebody. And how does that make you feel? How, you know, that like check into your body, those lovely warm sensations that happen when we, you know, I'm just smiling about the thought. I've got it's my next door neighbour's birthday today, and I'm going to go around in a minute and give her a present and a card. And I'm so excited I'm going to do this. And it's like, you don't have to wait for birthdays. You can just send somebody a text.
Yeah.
Just now, if you're watching this or afterwards, just send somebody you haven't spoken to for ages a text and just go, I really miss you. You know, I really care about you, and just sending you some love. And send it off out there, and just, you know, doesn't matter if nothing comes back, but just notice how you felt. And you have to do it with love, not like something's going to come back to me. If I send them a text, I want one back.
Something I've been doing just recently actually is if I've spent some time with someone socially distanced,
of course,
then I would just pinpoint, I'd send them a text afterwards and just pinpoint a little moment of that I really loved in their company. I loved it when this happened, and that's been, because then it's like a little snapshot that I've sort of taken and really cherished. Yeah.
And people feel that, don't they? It's like, you know, you said, oh, do you know what? I really loved our walk today. And you just go, yeah, it doesn't have to be big, does it? It can just be, as you say.
Even if you can pinpoint a moment of connection, you know, I loved it when you said that thing, or when this happened, because then it's like it's more than just a walk that, oh, well, we go for walks all the time. It's just like moments of connection. It just feels so lovely. So how old are your children?
So I've got a 19-year-old daughter who's been ripped out of her first year of her best year ever in her whole life, of course, of university. And, you know, but she's managing. She's okay. She found a new boyfriend 2 weeks before lockdown as well, so that kind of probably didn't help. And I've got a 16-year-old son who is, and they're both very lovely. And
how can we teach children kindness, or teens? How
So with children and teenagers, I think really what children see is what they experience from you. And, you know, they watch, whether they're old or they're young, it's all going in, whether we think it is or not. And especially in those teenage years, which are very funny, you know, there is that sense that you don't think anything goes on. And then, you know, my son will say to me, Mum, do you remember when you did that? I thought that was really lovely. And I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? You know, clocked that. And actually, I think, as you know, how we show up with our friends, how we show up with how we talk to people, how we teach our children and teenagers to listen by giving them our full attention, not while we're kind of doing something. It's actually sitting down in front of them and saying, even for 5 minutes, I just want to chat with you. And children love this, teenagers not so much, which is why I quite like going out in the car with them, because then they can't go anywhere and you don't have to look them in the face, but you can have a conversation. That's a good job too. And it's
the
not
kindness is really giving time, because time is our most precious commodity now.
Totally.
So
It really is about making somebody feel special. And, you know, we've all felt it when we've been in a room and somebody's looking over your shoulder as you're talking to them. And it's like, it's not about you, it says more about them. But actually, it really, you know, time that, how are you today? Checking in, especially when we're all together, there's probably less, you know, we feel less of a need to check in. But what I've noticed recently is, when my teenager has appeared, is just kind of check in, saying, how are you doing? Have you had a good day? What are you going to be doing today? You know, how did you sleep? So really taking that time just to check in, not just assume that we're all together, so we're okay. And one thing I used to do a lot with my children as well is, and a lot of children I know are going through, there's quite a lot of anxiety around, worries about school, transitioning because they didn't finish school properly at the end of their year, and they might be going up to, you know, secondary school. And we used to have like a pot, we used to call it a worry pot, which we used to put on the table. And because some children find it very difficult to actually talk about their worries. So we used to just write, we used to call it the worry turtle or something. We used to write your worry down and then put it in the turtle, and then somebody would check it. And normally it would be the child that written it going, oh, look, there's something in here. And then we would all talk about it as a family. You know, how can we all help you? How can we all contribute to helping you feel less worried, feeling less anxious? And which is really what all of this, you know, this COVID and lockdown is all about. It's supporting each other. And
so how can we be kind to somebody who's really unkind? That's a challenge.
I think it's to be kind without the expectation of anything coming back. And it's actually honoring you, honoring yourself to be a kind person, because as we all know, we can't control how anybody else thinks or acts or speaks, but we can take ownership of how we feel. And you know, that's one thing I've learned sort of in my work, sort of working with divorcees, is, you know, it's like, they, you know, I don't want to do this because they're not being nice to me. Just be a good person. Just be a kind person. It doesn't mean to say you're being a doormat. And something that our very lovely friend Shamash Aladina says is, I reminded him the other day and he went, oh, should I say that? I was, yeah, I always remember this when you're teaching. And it's about, so acceptance is about letting go, and resignation is about holding on.
Wow.
And it's amazing. So simple. And it's always stayed with me that it doesn't make what people are saying to you right if they're being unkind to you, but actually we can choose, you know, we can choose to let that go. And, you know, and a lot of the time we don't always know what's going on in people's lives either. And that would be my one thing. And especially at the moment as well, you know, and that person that pulls out and, you know, has a go at you, or you've pulled out or something, you know, we never know what's happened. They've left their home, their children might be ill, you know, they might have had an argument with their partner, their parents might be, you know, we don't know what's happening. So really just to sort of come back and honor who you are, and yeah, just hold your power.
And do you have any particular mindfulness, kindfulness techniques that parents could do themselves, or they could do with children? Mindful techniques.
So mindful techniques, I think one of the ways you can practice so I've got two. One is actually developing your own awareness. So it's really about getting into that practice of, and it's called 2 steps, 1 breath. And it's kind of, children really get it as well. Are you aware of it?
I probably do. I probably have heard of it called something different.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
I kind of
I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay, so I encourage and it's like a little practice you can do now with your children. So think of a worry on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is your high worry, and you're on sort of about 6. And you're walking around and you're thinking about it and you're in the middle of it. And then you kind of just stop and you push your feet into the ground, or children might want to stamp. And you take a breath and you follow your breath with your mind. So breathe in all the way down to your belly and back out again. And then just notice whether that worry still has all that heat in it. Is it still as strong? And the other one is, I always ask everybody to write this on and put it on their fridge door. So hungry, angry, ill. I put an L in there. So normally it's halt, but I put an I in there because for ill. So it's hungry, angry, or say halt and I. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, and ill. And you put it on a place in your house where the whole family can see it. And if somebody's being a bit grumpy, or you can just say, listen, have you drunk enough water? Are you feeling a little bit hungry? Did you sleep well last night? And so it sort of increases this lovely awareness and understanding of what others may be going through, even in your home as well. So the kindness is about awareness, about how everybody feels, encouraging them, supporting them.
So yeah, just remind me: hungry,
angry, lonely, tired, and ill. So a lot of the time we feel ill, and we just, that thing where you're suddenly, be feeling a bit grumpy for a couple of days, and then you get a cold or something, and you're like, oh, that's why I was feeling so grumpy or tired or whatever it was,
Yeah.
And I used to teach ladies who were going sort of through and beyond cancer. So that was one of the big things that came out of that. Somebody said, yeah, actually, what about ill? And I was like, I've always I've kept that one. So
yeah. So really being aware of our own needs, and then being aware of others' needs. Amazing. Oh, fantastic. So did you want to say anything else about kindness? Have we covered? We've covered kindness for the self, kindness for those we love, and kindness towards children, and also towards those who are not being kind. Did you have any other little tips or tricks or thoughts?
Okay, so I was just going to say, the more we practice it, the easier it becomes. And if it means putting it on a phone screensaver, that lovely reminder, how do you feel when you're kind? How do you feel at the end of the day? We all go, oh, wow, I've had a lovely day. There were lots of lovely people around. And actually, that's how we feel when kindness happens. And it's free. This amazing feel good. Part of our lives is free.
Did it work? Did your kindness, killing with kindness, did it work?
Yeah, killing with kindness. I know, I wrote a blog about that. Yeah, it did. It did, very much so. And which is why I'm such a believer, and I'm really sort of, a disruptor of the normal way of looking at divorce, because, we were big, strong characters, and it was a really fertile ground for a big battle.
Absolutely.
And it's not easy. It's not always easy to be kind as well, but to challenge yourself to be a bigger person. And it touches other people as well, because they go, actually, kindness is amazing. It's like that butterfly effect.
Absolutely. And the main thing, we all want to move towards pleasure and away from pain. And kindness is an absolute way to do that. Because
it is.
You can't. It's like the pain is the anger and the hurt, and if we just let that go, accept it, acknowledge it, and then go step into kindness, it is pleasurable, because we see the beautiful things around us. We are more able to be grateful. We can feel our bodies. We're more embodied, and it's a lovely feeling. So it's a great way to live. And I think, wow, what a way to live. Yeah, I'm in awe, Tosh. If you can live with kindness.
I don't know. You've
We're
got
on
to take
work in progress.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you know, if you don't try, you know, if you don't try, life is too short. So
yeah,
that was my thinking.
So,
and also, yeah, I just wanted to end to say I didn't want my divorce to define the rest of my life.
Wow.
So it's quite personal as well. I just thought I just don't want to be that angry, bitter person who is, you know, living and taking.
Because it doesn't just define your life, but I really feel it almost can define your features.
Totally.
You know, that bitterness can almost be drawn, if it's an ongoing thing. Our faces become our feelings, don't they?
Yeah.
So
and our energy as well, you know, you can just tell. It's just, you just don't want to be near people who are hanging on to anger. And
and also those, you know, there is research into, you know, how we hold it in our body as well. And so we can become ill with holding on to negative feelings. So yeah, it's definitely the way forward.
I agree with you.
That's really been great. So you have a podcast, Divorce Goddess podcast.
I have Divorce Goddess podcast, which amazingly after 12 episodes went to number 41 in the US relationship charts, which was just amazing. And interestingly, it was on the episode about setting an intention as well. So it was a solo episode and talking about intention. So
that's exactly what I've been doing every day. Get in the river to go for a swim, and my friend and I were doing 100 days, and we set an intention for the day to try and take away from the sheer cold of the swim. So my intention for today is to move, because I know I'm filming all day. So movement is my intention. So in between, so intentions are so powerful. But to have the intention of kindness is a brilliant one, and amazing that you've made a whole thing around it. Incredible.
Yeah, it's like it's going to be a big industry and a big brand by the time I finish with it. So watch this space. I'm literally going to create this massive space and brand for everybody to support people with kindness and well-being in their divorce. So
it's fantastic. Yes, nothing better.
I'm on it.
Thank you, Tosh. That's
Pleasure.
Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you for being such a lovely interviewer as well.
Thank you.
Bye, bye, bye.